Mr. TALIAFERRO TV, here's a breaking news that most of you guys have not even heard this morning. Chris Paul has been officially traded to the Houston Rockets. Yes, Chris Paul, starting point guard of the Los Angeles Clippers, has been traded to the Houston Rockets. Here's what happened. James Harden reportedly got on the phone with Chris Paul a couple weeks ago. They've been talking ever since, and James Harden has convinced Chris Paul that we need to get together and combat this Golden State Warriors team. And it's time you make a change, or I make a change, somebody make a change. James Harden and Chris Paul want to find a way to play with each other, and they're going to figure that way out as a Houston Rocket. Chris Paul is a free agent. He'll be a free agent July 1st. What ended up happening was Chris Paul told the Clippers that, listen, this all happened in the last 12 hours. Chris Paul told the Clippers, I am not coming back to you guys in free agency. I will not be signing an extension with your team. I will not be signing with you guys. The Clippers said, oh, wow, you know what? Before we lose you for nothing, let's sign and trade you. So the Clippers will now sign and trade Chris Paul to Houston, and the Clippers will get in return Patrick Beverley, Decker, couple other players to fill out the trade. But this is a blockbuster trade, right? Technically, it'll be considered a trade so it can work for salary cap purposes. But really what it was CP3 was going to sign with Houston anyway. Houston just didn't have the cap to sign him straight up. So the Clippers kind of threw him a bone. Maybe did it because Chris Paul had gave a lot to the organization. Doc Rivers still kind of halfway running things behind the scenes. Maybe he threw Chris Paul a bone, and he helped work the trade out with Houston in a sign and trade format. This is such a big trade on so many levels. Here's why. Does Chris Paul and James Harden in the backcourt get you over Golden State? No, it does not. But it puts you in the right direction, and maybe now you can get one more superstar that can, consider joining your team. They can score with anybody now. From a basketball standpoint, I'm thinking about how these two guys play. Chris Paul likes the ball in his hand. James Harden likes the ball in his hand. I thought there were other options that Chris Paul could have considered that might have been better than Houston, but I ain't mad at him for going to Houston. All right, James Harden probably wants to play without the basketball a little bit more, take some of the load off him, even though I thought he was a pretty good point guard playing that Steve Nash role last year with Mike D'Antoni's system. But listen, these brothers are going to score with the best of them. All right, I don't understand how Mike D'Antoni is going to coach these two guys, but they can score with the best of them. By the way, Mike D'Antoni does not know the game of basketball better than Chris Paul. No disrespect to Mike D'Antoni. But here's what I want to commend Houston for. Here's what I want to commend Chris Paul for, because I've been knocking Chris Paul. I came on here and did a story. It sounded like Chris Paul was staying in Los Angeles a couple days ago after an interview he did. Let me give Chris Paul credit. Let me give James Harden credit. This is what it's going to take. This kind of thinking, this kind of effort is what it's going to take to beat the Golden State Warriors. You are not beating the Golden State Warriors with simplistic, I want to go get my bread thinking. I don't know what changed in Chris Paul's mind. I don't know if he got into it with DeAndre. I don't know if he got into it with Blake. Maybe he didn't get into it with those guys. Maybe he just didn't want to play with them anymore. I don't know what happened in Chris Paul's mind, because I know from a reliable source, he was planning on staying in Los Angeles. I don't know what happened. Did he just get tired of looking at Golden State win? Did it hit home when Kevin Durant got his first championship? Something changed for Chris Paul in the last 48 hours. I don't know if it was the James Harden phone call, but he now wants to win. This is a proof that he wants to win. He could have stayed in Los Angeles. Him and his wife are comfortable. They do a lot of philanthropy work out there. Salute them. No, he's going to Houston. It's not a small market, but it's a market that he needs to be in to try to compete. You got to do this kind of thinking to compete with the Golden State Warriors. You got to do this kind of thinking. It's going to take this to compete. It's going to take this kind of thinking. They're so good. Teams are going to have to put 2 to 3 superstars together. By the way, Houston is now way more exciting because they keep their pieces. They still got the Eric Gordons of the world, the Ryan Andersons of the world. They keep their pieces. They got their shooting. They got Clint Capella down low that I like a lot. They got a couple other big men. Trevor Ariza still a nice piece. Him and Chris Paul played together before. I like what the Houston Rockets are doing. Again, they're one piece away. Maybe go out and get Paul George if you can. They don't have the pieces to do that up front. They would have to be involved in a three-way trade of some sort. But let me tell y'all something about Houston's Daryl Morey, the GM there. He's a risk taker, and he believes in analytics. If it makes sense from an analytics standpoint, he'll do it. Daryl Morey is the GM of the Houston Rockets. They do everything by the numbers game, right? If it doesn't make sense numbers, they won't do it. Like shooting guard center, James Harden, Dwight Howard. In their minds, it would work out. In their minds, it would work out because of the Kobe Shaq. They were comparing it to that. Didn't work out, but these are the kind of risks that Houston have shown in the past that they're willing to take. And I don't think they're done in free agency, or they're gonna have to trade some away because they don't have a lot of cap room. You can make one more trade, find a way to get rid of a couple more pieces. Maybe land a Paul George, because I know they're going to try to go for the big three now. They're going all in. Houston might have a big three, ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of days. Chris Paul to Houston is a huge trade because it's such a risky move. There's no guarantee that this is going to put them over Golden State, because in all likelihood, it's not. Will they win a few more regular season games? Yes. But they were already the number 3 seed. Now this will put them at the number 2 seed, definitely. They're better than the San Antonio Spurs now. Why Chris Paul chose, if he was going to move to Houston, I don't know why he chose this team over San Antonio, but I will give him credit for making a move. San Antonio with Chris Paul is a better move. If you're going to go to Texas, you should have went to San Antonio. They have a better team. They have a better coach, everything. But it looks like with Chris Paul's style of play, he'd rather be with James Harden. Maybe they're close friends, and he'd rather play that Houston pace. And it looked like it came down to Chris Paul not wanting to listen to Greg Popovich. I think that might be a mistake, but I salute Chris Paul on this huge blockbuster. It'll be considered a trade, but technically Chris Paul signed a free agency. Again, this is what happened. Chris Paul told the Clippers, I'm leaving. As soon as July 1st hits, I'm going to Houston. Regardless, we'll figure a way to make them trade some pieces, and I'm going to sign with Houston. Then the Clippers was like, okay, we don't want to get nothing out of this. At least let us trade for you so we can get a point guard back, and they got Patrick Beverly out of it, all right? Blockbuster trade, Chris Paul, ladies and gentlemen, this morning is a Houston Rocket. He'll be playing alongside James Harden. Talk to me in the comment box below what you think about this trade. Thank you for the time, love, support. Don't take it for granted. Salute. Wow, this is a huge way to kick off free agency, and I'm be keeping you updated on every darn thing. This is why you need to subscribe to my channel. I'm out. If you're looking to book me for an interview video or by phone, if you're looking to have your music or your skill featured on my daily podcast, if you're looking to book me for a speaking engagement to help motivate some kids, if you're looking to have me rock some of your clothing to help promote your brand, make sure you hit me up at booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com. Again, that's booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com.